you're not on the field, court, or ice. You're on the couch. From DG to DC, this is Coaching from the Couch with your host, CWall, delivering coverage for all DC sports teams from the hometown perspective. Nats, Skins, Mystics, DC United, Washington Wizards, Caps, Bowie State.
My name's CWall, I'm a PG girl. Down for my skins, I don't know if you heard. If you like watching sports, then I am your girl. Sit down on the couch if you not on the field. Cold on the ice, pick any sport that you want. Know that I cover it tight. What would you like? From baseball to football and more. The list can go on the whole night. Big shouts out to my HBCU fam. Never forget who I am through the wins and the losses, the highs and the lows. We gotta stay strong, so I stay 10 toes. Make the competition back. The way I kick it, make them mad, man. CWall and we live and direct. Sit back on the couch and relax. Come on.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Coaching from the Couch. This is your DMV Sports Weekly Update, and I am your host, CWall. Hey, everybody, how you doing? And I see that folks are checking in already. Make sure you are hitting the love or like button so I know you are all checked in and ready to go. And drop a comment in the chat so that I know you are absolutely in the building, because there is a lot to discuss. So make sure you're hitting that love and like button. Make sure you're saying hello to each other. I see the CWall team has checked in. Joy is on. Mazdak is on. Is everyone saying hello to Mama Waller? She is on, and I'm seeing some of the most amazing DMV sports fans already checked in. I see John Adams is checked in. Listen, you all, can we be absolutely transparent and honest? Because you know, part of what we do in CWall is being honest. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to need you all's energy. I'm going to need all that good, dope energy that you all bring, because I've been talking for 5 hours today, and we got to get through this show and be hyped and do all of that, because, hey, listen, if we're not hyped for what we do, then who would be, right? Who would be? So listen, you guys, bring all that awesome energy like I know you always do. Continue to hit the love or like button so that I know that you're here. And make sure you are sharing this show with your DMV sports loving family and friends so they can enjoy the conversation live. Absolutely want to always enjoy it live, but don't forget, you all, you can catch the show on cable every single Friday. Okay, every single Friday. If you have Fios, it's on channel 11. If you have Xfinity, it's on channel 77. From 1:30 to 2:30, you always want to make sure you can check in. Listen, there's absolutely no reason to miss the show. Let me just go ahead and tell you, there's no reason to miss it. You can always get the show. Okay, I think I've seen Cameron Mingo check in. I've seen Damon check in as well. You all, full show, because when is it not a full show? Always a full show. We got some Terps news. We got some Caps news, Wizards, and of course, a million things to discuss when it comes to the Commanders. So we're going to make sure we try to get in touch on as many of those points as possible. So let's go ahead and get right to it. I see one of CWall's corporate sponsors has checked in. You all, make sure you're checking out Ubiquitous Enterprises. You can still go to their website and use the code CWall5 for 15% off of the site. CWall5. It is the 5th anniversary all year long. I know I've been a little quiet since the actual date, but please understand, CWall Sports and Entertainment is celebrating 5 years all year long. Because if you all know me, you know if it's one thing I like to do, it's celebrate. Okay. So shout out to Ubiquitous Enterprises. Also, here is another update from another one of our sponsors. Thank you so much to Uplift Property Suite. Now, you all, are we ready? Are we ready? I saw a comment about March Madness, so I need Lady Terps fans to absolutely check in. Lady Terps fans, I need you to hit the love button. I need for you to drop something in the chat because the Maryland women's basketball team are taking on the national champions, the defending national champs, Stanford, on Friday night. Wow. What an opportunity the Lady Terps have if they come away with a win Friday night. Wow. And I'm going to be honest. It seems like the ladies got the juice. You all know how I feel when I'm sensing a team that has the juice. And the Lady Terps are acting like they got the juice, y'all. They acting like they ready. And I love to see it and love feeling that energy. So we all need to drop in the chat and make sure we are sending our good vibes, positive vibes to the Lady Terrapins. Hey, listen, they can come away with that win. They can absolutely come away with the win. A dynamic press conference and a send-off for the Lady Terps earlier in the week. And listen, while the Terps did take on Stanford earlier in the season and they lost, one thing that I can acknowledge that the coach of Stanford shared was like, hey, this is not the same Maryland team and it's not the same Stanford team either. So, hey, Stanford they mean too. I mean, they didn't get to a number one seed for nothing, and they're defending their championship. So I believe this will absolutely be an intense game. It's a late game because they're playing out west. So the game comes on here at 9:30. So be on the lookout for those updates and checking in on that game. You don't want to miss it. I know the ladies are going to ball out, and I can't wait to see what happens. Men's basketball. Terps men's basketball introduced their new head coach this week, Kevin Willard. Listen, former Seton Hall coach. I want to stay here for a moment. So we stand on Terps basketball for a moment. Let me tell you something. Going back to the overall idea of swag and who has the juice and who's really bringing that dope energy, I got to admit, Coach Willard has great energy. His great energy. I was like, oh, okay, Coach, definitely saying all the right things, bringing up even when former Terps head coach Gary Williams was the coach, and Coach Williams was in the building for the press conference. But he was quoted in saying that the team back under the leadership of Coach Williams, they had such swagger, they had such confidence. We're going to bring back that passion, that energy that Coach Williams coached with, that his players play with. Let me just say, saying all the right things. So it definitely made it feel like, okay, this is a good thing. It's a good thing. We don't know. It remains to be seen. We have no idea. But at the end of the day, Coach Willard has the right posture. He has the right energy. He's saying the right things. He's dynamic in his approach. You can tell that Coach Williams is in support of Coach Willard and the players as well. So, hey, I know Terps fans are loving the message of the new head coach saying, we want to get back to that energy and that swagger that the team had when Coach Williams was the coach. That is key. And that's always going to get people energized, right? Always, especially when you're under a winning coach. You referring back to when the Terps were winning. That always is going to make people feel good and always give the right energy. So More to come, remains to be seen, but it's all good vibes for certain. Are there any Caps fans on? Washington Capitals fans, make sure you're checking in, hitting the love button, dropping a comment in the chat, because just earlier this week, the National Hockey League trade deadline did occur. It did happen. I think one of the bigger news stories here is that the Capitals acquired forward Marcus Johansson from the Seattle Kraken for forward Daniel Sprong, a 2022 fourth round pick, and a 2023 sixth round pick. Seattle will retain 50% of Johansson's contract. Okay, here's what was interesting to me as I was following this. It was reported that Sprong said he was surprised that he was dealt. So he didn't know. It was definitely one of those situations where he was pulled into the coach's office at MedStar and was told he had been traded to Seattle. Tarek El-Basir reported that. Tarek is a great person. I met him on the beat with Washington football. Well, I guess it was Washington football at the time. So I'm like, I'm sharing that because it happens everywhere. But definitely, he did not see that coming. So I was like, oh, another one of those stories. But nonetheless, hey, listen, Caps are still moving forward. Ovi is still making history. Matter of fact, speaking of history, not in terms of Ovi, but in terms of Nick Backstrom, if you are going to the Capitals game on Saturday versus New Jersey, they are celebrating Backy's 1,000th NHL point. So that's always super. They've celebrated that. And that's always going to be a lot of fun for the team to do that. So all good stuff. All good stuff. Just wanted to mention that trade deadline, and we'll see what happens. As most know, Marcus played with and was drafted by the Caps. I can't remember the year right now, but he was drafted by the Caps initially. So we'll see what happens. I think the team is excited to have him back and have that depth. So we'll see. More to come there. I think that we announced this on the social media pages, but I do not think that I addressed this next topic on the show last week. You all let me know if I did. I don't think I did. And this next topic is that the Nats have welcomed back lefty pitcher Sean Doolittle. And let me just say this, because definitely we addressed it on the social media pages, but I do not think that I formally said on the show, welcome back to Sean Doolittle. That's a big deal, in my opinion, because Sean Doolittle was absolutely a fan favorite. So I know that Nats fans were amazed and so happy to see Sean come back to the team. Of course, the franchise welcomed him back with open arms. It is just tremendous. He and his wife are such dynamic people and do amazing things in the community. So I know from a media perspective, I was happy that Sean is back. Sean and his family is back. And so I'm so certain that fans are happy as well. So welcome back, Sean Doolittle, to the Washington Nationals franchise. Hey, sometimes you got to step away for a year or two, and then you come back. You always know where home is. Listen, we get it, and it's okay. We get it, and it's absolutely all right. Now, Wizards fans, where are you? Check in, Wizards fans. Check in, Wizards fans. And let me just say this. I'm not going to go on a Wizards rant. I'm not. I don't think so. That's not what's planned anyway. You never know. But Wizards fans, are you around? And we know that the Wizards are getting ready to play the Bucks, but they're getting ready to play the Bucks, and I don't even think Chris Middleton and Giannis are playing tonight. I don't even think they're playing. So, if you haven't already heard, the Wizards lost to the Houston Rockets after having a 23-point lead. Now, this is not as bad as that Clippers demise, Y'all know the Clippers' demise. Now, the Clippers' demise, that almost took me down. That almost took me down in real life at the arena and on the show in front of everybody. That one right there, that did it. But the Wizards let the Rockets score what? Outscored them 41 points. Wow. That's just terrible. And I'm not even, let me back up. Over the weekend, the Wizards played the Los Angeles Lakers. The LeBron James led Los Angeles Lakers. I had to go back and say that. It's not just the Los Angeles Lakers. It's the LeBron James. Second all time in scoring leader. This person, okay? And I want to say, in being there in person, watching the Wizards play, the team came together. They truly upped the ante because it wasn't like the Lakers played bad. The Wizards genuinely played better. They did. Hats off to them. Several players in double figures. Saw Kristaps Porzingis really kick it into the gear and take over the game. I mean, when you're 7-3, absolutely get in the paint, defend it, get in the paint, score, and saw the unicorn almost look like the unicorn of old. Almost did. And the team just came together. You saw the energy. Everybody was hype. It was a thing. And perhaps the energy with the Wizards came from, and this is just me just making an assumption here, because there were absolutely a ton of Lakers fans in the building. Now, when the Lakers scored, I didn't know who was who because it was definitely like everybody was just cheering. And I'm like, well, what in the world is going on? But the Wizards had everyone came together. I was like, oh, okay, now here was the other thing. Kuz didn't play. Thomas Bryant didn't play. And I'm like, oh, okay. But LeBron James going to do what he does, which is extraordinary, by the way. Let me be real clear. What LeBron James is accomplishing at this point in his career is absolutely just remarkable. It's remarkable what he's doing. And so I'm like, well, okay, keep that energy. Keep that same energy. And that's what a lot of people like to say, keep that same energy. Go to Houston and lay a tremendous egg. I'm like, whoa. Wow. That's depressing. And it's really, it was a sign to me. It was a huge sign to me when before the trade deadline, Brad went from being day-to-day to now he's out for the season. Whatever issues were going on behind closed doors, it was such that several players needed to be traded to other teams. And I'm like, at this point in the season, let's be clear about something. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. And we're starting to see teams emerge. We're starting to see them sprout out. Then we're starting to see teams that were on the rise earlier in the season just go down. Absolutely go down. Hey, it seems like to me, and I want to acknowledge Cameron's question here. Are they shutting down Kyle Kuzma for the season with knee tendonitis? Perhaps. Because at this point in time, I don't think that's what they would like to do. But at this point in time, with where they are, is there a real chance? And even if there is a real chance to still make the play-in and go to the play, what are we doing exactly? Playing with what? Doing it for what? Doing it for who? And that's the thing that is a bit disturbing to me. We're seeing how organizations that consistently win are still vying for an opportunity to make the playoffs. They're still playing hard. They're still doing a certain number of things where it's like, well, what are we trying to figure out here? Are you really trying to figure out who you have? Is this a tryout for those that remain on the roster and are healthy? What is this exactly? And that's what it appears to me. I mean, there's more to come, there's more to see, and would love to see some of those players come back and be healthy enough to play and finish out the regular season. But when you're in a situation where there's still a chance to make it and there's still an opportunity, you would hope that the organization says, let's still make it and let's still try to have a chance and let's still try to play at as much of 100% as we can, because this is what we do for a living. That's all I'm saying. So I'm like, hey, listen, some of the issues that were supposedly happening when other players were still on the team at the first half of the season, it's not like those issues have gone away. So what are we doing here? More to be seen, more to come on that topic. But all I'm saying is, if you're going to omit a problem, omit the problem. Doesn't look like that the problem has gone away. So there is that. That is my Wizards segment and Wizard spiel for this week. Commanders fans, check in. Where are the Commanders fans? Where are the Commanders fans? Let's talk about the Commanders. Never a dull moment with the Commanders. Never a dull moment with the Commanders. Now let's say something. It's a variety of things that we can talk about. Every time it comes to the Commanders, it's like, well, I mean, I'm looking through the list and it's like, well, there's a lot that could be discussed about the Commanders. We can talk about some of the press conferences this week. Interesting feedback from Cam Sims and JD McKissick. We can talk about those that have been re-signed. So this week, the team has re-signed Danny Johnson. They announced today they re-signed Cornelius Lucas. They've re-signed a depth player at defensive end. His name escapes me at the moment. And a former Carolina Panther. That's all I think about in right now. That he's a former Carolina Panther, another former Carolina Panther there. We could talk about the fact that they're continuing to lose sponsorships, right? We talked earlier in the week about Anheuser-Busch, but Bud Light has pulled out as well. We can also talk about who else? It's a lot of employees are leaving. People are just leaving. We can talk about the fact that Team 980 no longer is broadcasting the games. It's just a lot that can be discussed. We could talk about the pro days, right? We know that Coach Ron Rivera and a lot of the Washington Commanders brass were in attendance at Ohio State's pro day. They were also at Cincinnati's pro day, which makes sense. They're in the same state. They're not too far apart from each other. So that is something that we can all talk about. I want to acknowledge this question here by DJ. What are your thoughts on their approach in the draft? Should this team focus on the offensive side of the ball this time around? Here's where I am concerned. And I believe that they still have their sights on a linebacker, but the Commanders took a linebacker in the first round. It is definitely rumored and shared they need another wide receiver. But here's the thing. They've since re-signed, like I said, Cam Sims. There's still a lot of hope there with Cam Sims. And so they definitely need a dynamic receiver. Here's where I've gotten concerned. Still waiting to see what happens with Terry McLaurin in his contract. The market continues to thrive and go way up for wide receivers. And Terry deserves every bit of whatever dollar amount they're going to give him. Hopefully it's a high dollar amount. So with that being said, Terry needs to be paid. If they're going to draft anyone, yes, it's an opportunity to draft a receiver, but it's also looking like, do they have a viable? I think I'm still looking for a solid and viable player at left tackle. Now, let me be clear about something. Can I just be honest with y'all about something? I'm always honest. I mean, hey, what's the probability that you're going to get another Trent Williams? Just go ahead and say it out loud. Trent Williams is just, I mean, he's just a just insane athletic ability at that left tackle position. But there needs to be some depth and some in there needs to be attention to that position and on the offensive line, because the team has a quarterback that is injury prone. So that is something to be watchful on. And that number 2 receiver, still the safety position, the linebacker position. The team is in dire need of a middle linebacker, and I'm not real certain why that it hasn't been addressed yet. I think the team is looking at still some free agent middle linebackers, and that's great, that's good, but I still think there is an opportunity to get better with the defensive backs at safety as well. So I'm going to continue to say that whatever holes there are must be filled in the draft. I think the team needs to be looking at players that can show improve on game day. I think the team needs to be vying for talent, not raw talent per se that they have to shape. Who can come in and absolutely perform day one? That is going to be key. That is going to be key in this draft. And Terry McLaurin's contract is key. Anyway, period. Not in the draft, but just overall. It's interesting to see it happen. The team, everybody knows about the cap and all of those things. So it's something to watch and something to be mindful of, to get Terry McLaurin locked in immediately. I believe some of the re-signs are because the team is just strapped for cash. They're just strapped for money this year. So that's why you're seeing a lot of re-signs that aren't, the sexiest, right? In terms of, big splashes in the market, but they need to pay Terry. That I hope is of high priority. And that is definitely something that needs to continue to be watched. Okay. So you all, we're at our time. We are at our time. How does the time go by so fast? Well, you know what they say. Time flies when you're having fun. Isn't that what they say? So listen, you all, here's a quick update. Let me share this with you all. So next week, we'll be doing reruns. I'm not able to do the show next week. On fourth Mondays, we don't do the show for a time period. We don't do the show on fourth Mondays. And on Thursdays, next Thursday, I have a prior engagement. I'll be at Capital One Arena for another reason next Thursday. And if you follow me on social media, you'll know what that reason is. So stay tuned. Y'all are going to know where I am. But we will be sharing reruns. And if there's a particular show that you want to see again and you want to run that back and play that back, go ahead and drop it in the chat or put it on the CWall page so that we know what show that is, so we make sure we air that show or re-air that show for you all next week. Okay, so you all continue to be safe, be blessed. And listen, I may not see y'all necessarily next week per se, but you all know what it is. I'm going to see you guys soon.
You're not on the field, court, or ice. You're on the couch. From DG to DC, this is Coaching from the Couch with your host, CWall, delivering coverage for all DC sports teams from a hometown perspective. Nats, Skins, Mystics, DC United, Washington Wizards, Caps, Bowie State.
My name's CWall, I'm a PG girl. Down for my skins, I don't know if you heard. If you like watching sports, then I am your girl. Sit down on the couch if you not on the field. Cold on the ice, pick any sport that you want. Know that I cover it tight. What would you like?